Hey everybody, welcome to week number 5. This is your Monday discussion, and we have some questions that I can't wait to hear how you answer. And keep in mind, there's lots of ways to answer these questions. So what I'm really looking for is a combination of your own ideas, your own views, and backing it up with information of this week. So I'd love you to look at the videos I made, looking at the sources and the things we've added, even Hamilton stuff I added, whatever you'd like to put in here from this week. What I really want to encourage you is not to cut and paste things like ChatGTP and other AI stuff. One thing I can tell, because I do look at the questions for AI and see this how they're doing it, and the other thing, it's no benefit to you, and what I'm really interested in is your own ideas. So that's, that might be completely different to someone else's answer. Don't judge yourself based on other people's, unless you're only writing a sentence or two per answer. Then go ahead and judge yourself, and you'll see some other people writing long paragraph or two per answer, something to learn off of them. But I really encourage you to learn from each person in your group, because they're all coming at this questions from different backgrounds and ideas and values and different classes they've taken that add to these answers, as you also add so much to these answers, and I hope that they learn from you. So that's what makes it a discussion rather than an essay. Again, as I've said before, don't think of these as an essay at all. It's more of us in class having a discussion. I'm interested in your views and what you're having to think and what you're learning, rather than a polished, formalized essay. So that's not what this is. This is a discussion, and it's a way to learn from each other. And there's a lot packed into this week. So, and that's why I want to do this quick video to kind of go down. Things to consider. Make sure to read all these little, to remind yourself of the instructions here. Each answer should be a paragraph or two. So the idea is to sort of give your own ideas, back it up with a few examples from the week, and wrap it up. And that's a paragraph, all right? So one sentence isn't going to cut it. You can't put all that information in one sentence. So think of that. Using keywords. I really, if you want that 18, 19, 20 out of 20 on these discussions, use specific keywords that you're learning, that I've used. Don't just say people that are, fighting on the side of the British in the colonies. There's a word for that, loyalists. There's just so many people that are talked about in this. There's so many different phrases, things we've learned the last few weeks. Add that in here. It adds to your discussion. And then, so the 4 questions is, there's a lot of different types of individuals that are fighting in this Revolutionary War. This is showing the diversity rather than just a static America's colonists on one side, British on the other. There's so much more to that story. So pick one. Pick a group that we've discussed about in the module. There's a lot of pages that discuss them. There's a lot of individuals. So look at African Americans, loyalists, farmers, artisans, women who are often left out of the story. There's a lot of different ways to take it. And I urge you to pick one, to discuss it, do a paragraph or two. And you're going to kind of simulate a historical fiction by putting yourself in the shoes of one of those people in the group, let's say an African American in the Revolutionary War, and you're writing a letter to Thomas Jefferson to urge him to hear your grievance about the Revolutionary War. Who's an ambassador who's going to England, and he's trying to make a case to either stop the fighting or continue the fighting or try to find truce. What is your take based on being a member of one of these groups? What kind of stuff would you want Jefferson to know about your group? What kind of grievances would you have? What are your views? How does this affect you personally and your family and your religious ideas? If you were taking the side of the Quakers, for example, how would that add to this? But take your different views and add that to this. And the second question is, we're going to be, the second question is along the same lines. You're going to be looking at how Both African Americans and Native Americans shaped the Revolutionary War. There's a lot discussed in this. Their different views, the different sides that they took, the complexities of this, why they might fight as a loyalist versus on the side of the colonists, what kind of promises were made. There's a lot to be brought in here, a lot of unpacked, different individuals that played a massive role. So use those people, use those examples from the reading, from the videos, from the material from this week to help answer number 2. And then number 3, you were able to look at Hamilton, and you're able to look at some of the different views and the people and the way someone like Lin-Manuel Miranda was able to make a top musical with music based on the sources, and how that's used not as a history but as entertainment, but also to show a very important part of American history. Now all this and this whole week has been using different types of sources to show different views. So what's up with those sources? What are those sources, and how do the sources really inform and direct the narrative of these different aspects and directions of a narrative of the American Revolution? And how is that so different than the traditional view that's often just very stagnant between the British and the American colonists? So we have these sources, and we have had these sources. So part of this question, because we had all these sources, why is it that a lot of these stories are not told? Why are they still left out of history books? It makes us as historians understand that maybe it's not just sources that are needed to write a narrative, that there's other factors related in the making of history. So I want you to really think about and contemplate what that might be. What does heritage have to say about making history? Think about the word heritage and how that might be different than history. History is about truth, where heritage is often about identity. So how does individual identities then and now really affect the way history is written and the narratives that are talked about? Think about what we said a few weeks ago about like statues and the Columbus statue coming up or down, and how that is so politicized. So politics playing a role. I think it's important as historians to understand these factors, especially something like Revolutionary War and the making of the United States. And you as a historian, understanding both one side of the coin of sources and getting as many sources as you can to find the truth, but understanding all the other factors that make and are important for telling a story and to tell a history narrative. And you have to understand how to weave those two together to make an effective history. So this is your place to shine on that and tell your views, what you think. How do we navigate that in the 21st century? And so it's going to be really interesting, and take it a lot of different ways. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about that. And then finally, the fourth one is the reflection. Again, we often have this question, and this is so important to look back and reflect on the whole week. Don't leave this question blank, but use this to answer it in any way you can. So there's some ideas there. What's your overall thoughts? What are some questions you might have to the group? How can we use things like the musical Hamilton and other mediums, movies and things to help tell a story rather than just reading a textbook? And is that important for understanding our past? Whatever you want to say for this one, I'd love to hear your reflection. And answering all four of those questions will be incredibly important to see your views and what's going on and what you've learned. And don't forget, after, if this is due Monday, you always have a few days afterwards to do the peer responses. So don't forget the peer responses. Make sure you do those. Read other people's views. Maybe really look at more deeply question 3 and 4 as well, to see how different people in your group answer those questions and what you can learn from them or add to it, or maybe even disagree and respectfully talk about that together. I'd love to see those comments as well, and learning and seeing how everyone's viewing things differently is so important in the class like this. So enjoy this week. Enjoy these 4 questions of how to look at what I call the unruly Americans. They're unruly because they're starting a war, and how that together in different ways and different values is creating a new direction for a new country that's emerging after this. All right. Thank you very much, and good luck with this. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Always email me if you have questions. Go to the forum if you want to bounce ideas off with each other. And you're not working on this alone, so make sure to collaborate, get ideas with each other as well as with me if you're stuck and have questions. And I look forward to reading what you have to say.